What's up, everyone? My name is Yahya Kazi. I'm a 21-year-old entrepreneur. Currently, the company I work for right now, I operate for them, and I helped scale from basically nothing to almost $1 million a year within a year. I've been working for them for a year, so it's pretty cool. And in this video, I'm basically going to be talking about how I went from being this 21-year-old with not very much business experience to being where I'm at today. And it's even a journey that has started from before I was 21. Obviously, when I was 20, because I've been working here for a year, but also 19, 18, my childhood, etc. And it's not going to go too deep, but I want to talk about the really big points that have gotten me this far. And hopefully the lessons that I share can help you as well on your journey, because I want to share as much as possible of what I'm doing and teach it so that I can get better at knowing it myself, because if you can properly teach something, that means you properly understood it, as well as just getting better at what I do. And hopefully one day you might even want to hire me for something, or we could be besties, etc. But anyway, so number one is going to be basically just talking about my timeline, my bit of a journey, my background. I come from a regular go to college, get a white collar job sort of family. There wasn't much in the way of entrepreneurship. I can't say I knew a single entrepreneur growing up. And so I had successful people around me. I had people to learn from and model off of, but I didn't have anyone specifically in the realm of entrepreneurship. I didn't really have anyone to have me take me under their wing. And so I went out and I found them. I worked my butt off to find the most successful people in my area. And this is just in general of just wanting to be successful in life, not even necessarily just entrepreneurship, though the later points will get more into entrepreneurship specific things. But for this one in particular, I reached out to every single person that was in my contact list that I knew was more successful than me. I knew was further down the line. Either they were a little bit more successful or they were known really well in their field. You would love to be hanging around them. And what I would do is I would reach out to these people and I would say, hey, I would love to get a coffee with you if you're down. Are you free this time or this time? And more often than not, you'd be really surprised. These people are very lonely. They want someone to talk to, someone to share their lessons, and someone that they can pass off those lessons so that you can carry that torch and pay it forward someday. And with that, I mean, that's level one, is getting coffee with these people and just talking to them about their day, preparing, of course, researching on them, figuring out what questions to ask them just to learn. But also level two of that is paying for their coffee. Like, I did this all the time when I was in community college. I was broke. I was working a minimum wage job. I could barely afford it, but I did it anyway because it didn't matter to them, obviously, to pay for the coffee. In fact, 9 out of 10 times, they would offer to pay for me. And so what I would do is I would surprise them. I would stand out. I would show them that I am someone that is serious about this, that I am someone that is serious about the relationships that I build, because I always thought of it as building relationships, not just networking. And so when it came time to pay, I would say, oh, I got it. And swear to God, every single time, there was not a single time where someone was like, oh, okay, for sure. Every time they looked at me and they went, are you sure? Are you absolutely sure you want to pay for it? I was like, yeah, I mean, I took you, and this is actually a line you could steal, is, yeah, I mean, I brought you out here. It's only fair that I pay for it. Just with total confidence. You say that, you pay for it. The big dick energy that you get from that. They will give you anything you want to know, just because, again, it's a coffee. They can obviously pay for it if they're more successful than you. But it's the thought behind it. It's the thought behind paying for them. It's the thought behind building and keeping a good relationship with them. It's about doing the research beforehand to know what questions to ask. Of course, showing up on time, looking well, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's just kind of how you start to surround your immediate environment with people more successful than you so that you can start to level up to what they're doing. Again, that's not specific to entrepreneurship. It's whatever you want to be doing. But I've found that as a super helpful thing that I just kind of learned through intuition, I guess. And I've never really heard anyone else talk about this. So I thought I would spread it out into the void. Number two is, as you're getting into entrepreneurship in business and everything, you are often going to find a dilemma. Like every day, you're going to have two different paths you can take. Either I take the more comfortable path today and I suffer from it later, or I take the more suffering path today and I at least hope that I'll be comfortable in the future. And the reason why that is so important is when you're starting out in business, you have no idea what you're doing. You have the skill deficit, the ignorance tax to pay, all of these things. It is very important that you do the thing that you are the most scared of, that you are the most unconfident, that you will suffer the most from doing in the short term. Because again, if you take that short-term comfort path, you won't grow. If you're scared to fail and you instead only do the things that are comfortable for you, then if you're scared to fail in public, scared to fail in front of everybody else, if you're starting out, no one's even watching. So if you're scared to fail just for yourself, then there's a clear mindset issue there, because the fun part about entrepreneurship is the failure, right? Is the ability to tell people, oh, I failed at this, I failed at this, I failed countless times, I got back up, I got back on my horse, and I just tried again, and then I succeeded, finally, right? Every successful person that you know, I could find a bajillion mistakes they made, a bajillion failures they had. And so, not only is it the more fun path, but also if you want to be successful, you have to grow these skills. You have to pay the ignorance tax. You have to take the path that is super uncomfortable. And trust me, it does not stop. It only gets more and more uncomfortable, but you get stronger. Every failure sharpens your sword, builds your resilience. Every success shows you that you should just keep going to build that momentum and keep winning. Back to that metaphor of it gets more and more uncomfortable. Back to that metaphor of working out, you getting stronger. Think of it like that. Think of every single failure, every single rep, every single uncomfortable point as just another rep in the gym, right? Because if you can change your mindset around it, if you can start to think of it as like a fun game, which is what entrepreneurship is, then it starts to become a lot more fun. It starts to become a lot easier for you to take those more uncomfortable paths and win-win, grow from it. So taking a sales call, for example, is the scariest thing for me, right? But I know that every sales call I take is another rep. It's another rep for me to get stronger, right? Every deal that I don't close, every rejection I face is another chance for me to say, yeah, I put in the reps. I put in the work. I can tell people that I've seen the battlefront, the front line of war, and I survived, I got through it, and then I succeeded, right? So that's number 2 right there. Number 3 is your information diet. And this is something that I think I've already talked about a little bit, and I want to keep talking about as much as possible to beat it into the ground, that your information diet shapes who you are. All right, it's the same sort of thing as that metaphor of going to the gym, putting in the reps, getting stronger, and going into business, putting in the reps, and getting smarter, getting more successful, etc. When it comes to your diet, abs are made in the kitchen. If you are not eating right, you're not going to lose weight. You're not going to gain muscle. You're not going to make nearly as much progress as you want to. And it's the same sort of thing in business. If you are not giving yourself the right information diet, you're not consuming the right videos, the right books, the right, et cetera, et cetera. If you were scrolling through Instagram, looking at random shit on your lunch breaks, you're not doing yourself any favors. And don't get me wrong, everyone has their guilty pleasures. Everyone has their vices. I'm no different. I scroll through Instagram sometimes. I scroll through social media. I waste my time sometimes. But it's a balance, right? It's a spectrum of how healthy your information diet is. If it's clearly not healthy at all, you're not consuming any sort of content, which, if you're watching this video, you are clearly making a step in the right direction. If you're at that level where you're not doing it at all, you're pretty much bound not to succeed, because there's nothing you can learn from. And odds are you're probably scrolling through that type of content because you're distracting yourself from actually even putting in the work. And so you want to start slowly increasing the health of your information diet so that you can get better at what you're doing. You can learn from other people. You can get other perspectives on what you're doing. And you can also keep things in mind for the future, right? You don't have to consume information that applies to you right now, as long as your general environment is just things that are above you so that you can start to learn from them. Not only will you have it in your brain for later, not only will you have information in your brain that you can implement now, but you also just in general start thinking about things differently, your mindset around things. For example, if I look at a billboard, I don't think about the outcome. Or I think a better example is like in a supermarket. I don't look at a pack of, M&Ms and think, wow, I want M&Ms. I think, wow, I wonder the amount of people that went into designing that packaging. The people, the teams, how big that team size was, what the process even was for creating the packages. How often do they change the colors or the branding or put holiday stuff on it? Like, all of that stuff is so fascinating to me. And not only that, it keeps me from buying M&Ms because I'm more focused on like the marketing and everything than actually falling for the marketing. So instead of being a consumer, I become a producer. Instead of having that consumer mindset, I have that producer mindset. And that's something I actually got from a book I read a long time ago. It was like the first book that got me into thinking about entrepreneurship. It's called The Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ DeMarco. So pretty cool book. Guy's obsessed with his Lamborghini, but otherwise it was a cool starter book for me. So if you want to read that book, go for it. But that leads me into my next point is with your information diet, you don't want to go overboard, right? Like I said, you do want to consume a wide range of information, not just in business, but also just like I look at stuff all the time about like physics, about different science, about art. I love art. Like you'll see in my thumbnails and everything, I love making them more artsy because I just enjoy it, right? And it activates my brain a lot more. It gets me excited about what I'm doing. But there is the worry that you can go overboard. There's the worry that you can start to focus too much on information that is ahead of you or that is behind you and not focus on what's actually in front of you. Not focus on the things that you're actually supposed to prioritize. And so don't go overboard. Think of it as seasons of learning and seasons of doing. Now, you're not only just learning and only just doing, but I think of it as like if I'm starting to cap out on my skills, like I'm doing a lot and I feel like, oh, I need to get better at leadership. I need to get better at management. I need to get better at project management or sales or something like that. And I feel like I'm just not making a whole lot of progress. In general, volume negates luck. Like as long as I just keep going, I'll continuously grow. But I want to get faster. I want to learn some more perspectives. And I feel like I'm starting to get more diminished returns that I could try to increase once I, say, read this book or watch this YouTube video. And so what I'll do is I will scale back a little bit on how much I'm doing every day, and I will start to learn a little bit more. And then same sort of thing. It's a general feeling that I have that you'll start to get really good at over time is like, oh, I feel like I'm sitting around too much. I think I'm just learning for the sake of learning, and I'm not actually implementing what I'm doing. Again, this is sort of a skill you'll get over time of figuring out whether or not you're doing one or the other. For most people, though, they're not really doing either. So if you're there, start with doing. And if you're already doing, start with learning a little bit, because I don't often see people learning a whole lot. And it's really 80-20. As long as you see yourself learning and doing at the same time, you're taking sales calls and you're watching a sales course at the same time, you're doing great. You're doing amazing. Nice job. You're 90%, 99% ahead of everyone, or you're ahead of 99% of people. And so that leads me to my next point. I think we're on point 6, maybe 5, something like that, is all of this information is free. Like, if you want to learn from a course, a YouTube video, a book, whatever, you can find anything on every single subject online for free. If you have access to this video, you can find it online. Trust me. So, for example, when I got hired by my current company, the company is called Goosify, by the way. I was the first hire, and we've scaled from just me and the CEO to 15 people. Again, from making nothing to almost $1 million a year. And what happened when I first got hired was I was overwhelmed with this sense of like, wow, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I don't know how I'm going to scale this business up. I don't know where to even start. I started thinking, where can I find this information? Where can I figure it out? Which is a later point that I'll bring up, is sort of like a mission in your mind, something that will drive you every day, a philosophy, if you will. I started thinking, who can best teach me how to do some of the stuff that I don't know how to do? And so what I realized was the people that got me thinking about business in the first place, Alex and Layla Hormozi, they have free courses on their website, acquisition.com. Right? There's a course specifically called $100 million Scaling, and that's not like they're not paying me or anything. That's genuinely what I did when I first got hired. I consumed that course. I took all kinds of notes on it. I watched it over and over again. I learned where our priorities were. I did exactly what they told us to do. And again, over time, we got to where we were. And it was not a completely straight up and to the right graph, obviously. It was ups and downs and ups and downs and setbacks and, plateaus and everything like that. But I just kept going. I just kept implementing. I just kept learning. And I'm here now, right? And to my next point is, there will always be setbacks. There will always be plateaus. There will always be days and weeks and months where you're like, man, I just want to throw the towel in. But the best thing to understand is, again, everyone has these stories, right? Where they had their setbacks, where they had their plateaus, where it didn't come as easy or as straightforward to them as they might like to make it seem. Like, it is completely normal to fail in entrepreneurship. And so if you get beaten down, if you fall down, if you go bankrupt, if you do any of those things, right? If you don't make a single dollar online and you've been doing it for months, just keep going. Don't give up. Don't give up. Because I tried to get into business for probably 2.5 years, and I constantly failed. I spent so much money. I remember I even spent I used like one of those Klarna, like buy now, pay later payment plans to buy this hat of a creator that I really liked because I wanted to operate for him, right? And he never responded to me. I paid like $40 that I didn't have for this hat just for it to never get used. And so, like, that could have taken me out. I could have given up. I could have just done something else. But I just kept going. I mean, I got to the bottom. I got to the bottom to the point where I quit my job. I had no money left. I started donating my blood, my plasma for money just so I could keep this going. And literally, by the end, I was so close to giving up. So close. But I just kept going, and eventually I got hired by this company. And again, where we're at today. And so what I was saying earlier is that sort of philosophy, that drive, that thing that pulls you every day. For me, I call it a mission statement. One time I told someone that, and they called me an idiot for not calling it a philosophy, because apparently mission statements are like weird Silicon Valley voodoo. I don't know, but my point is pick something, a statement, something that is vague and broad, but excites you, and use that to guide you, right? A guiding principle. So hopefully that doesn't set anyone else off. Like for me, my mission is to make money and save the world.